Hello, I'm Joshua of Milestone Play. I'm a professional game master, and today we have a follow-up video to last week's Get Barbaric entry. For the TTRPG Design Challenge, we made a Barbarian character in our Heroic Potential system. For today's video, we're going to go through the process of making that character and a lot of the core rules you need to know to understand how the game is played. Now, there's a lot of these rules that will be developed and changed over time, but the overall ideas of how the system works and what the system's trying to do will still be reflected in this video. Now, our Get Barbaric entry was much shorter and very much more focused, so if you're looking for a shorter video, you want that one. This one, as you look at the time bar, is going to be a whole lot longer, but it's going to give you a lot of the content you need to understand heroic potential. So let's get into it. Welcome to one of our many heroic potential character sheets. This one was designed for use in these videos, so there's only as much space as we need for this character with hints at other routes we could have gone. As we walk through the character building process, we will be taking breaks to introduce some of the game mechanics along the way. However, we won't be talking as much about some of the barbaric combat options. The previous video spoke a lot on all of that, so we won't retrod all of that ground. For our character build process, we will be going through a series of foundations that structure our choices to make a well-rounded character. Foundations don't have to be done in order as long as we make sure our selections work well together. Our first foundation is our origin. In later iterations of the game, this may include things like folk or species to include options like elves and dwarves. In the current version of the rules, the Origin Foundation carries a lot of the generic background for our base life stats, native language, and some skill trainings for childhood talents. As we go through this process, we're going to gain a bunch of different types of trainings. Regardless of the type, all trainings start at 0 and can be increased to a max of 5. Some of these training categories have special names for their ranks to refer to them in world-building terms. The first of these naming conventions are encountered as we set a language proficiency to 4 to act as our native language. For game development, we have a small set of world-agnostic languages. We get to choose one to set to 4, which is representative of a nuanced understanding of the language. For our barbarian, we'll make ancestral their mother tongue. Used by the wild peoples, this is everything from nomads and druids to elves and orcs. Next, we have the opportunity to train 2 skills. Every foundation is going to give us 2 skill trainings to develop our character in many directions. When we train a skill, we can do one of 4 different things. The simplest option is to increase the proficiency rank of a skill. This is the number we get to add to tests. During character creation, the note for max of rank 3 is for this option. This limitation dissuades one-trick ponies and guarantees that our character will still be able to develop their skills through their adventures. Skill alterations are a special mechanic to give players ways to use a skill more carefully or in situations they otherwise wouldn't be able to. We'll be avoiding these for now for simplicity. Skill actions are options to reliably use skills in combat. We could risk making a stunts test in combat to tumble through an enemy's space, or we could take the tumble skill action to know we can do it with the right action economy. Finally, skill specializations are a way to get really good at niche elements of a skill. We could be okay at thievery, but great at sleight of hand. When we make a skill test for something that we are specialized in, drawing a club lets us draw a second card and add it to the total. For simplicity, we're also going to be staying away from skill specializations on this character. Now that we've done a rundown on skill trainings, our origin gives us 2. As we build our stereotyped nomadic barbarian, let's increase our ranks in endurance and stealth. The harsh environments have made us tougher, and years of hunting have honed our ability to stalk prey. The last part of our origin is setting our life stats of base max stamina and base max body. Stamina represents our ability to get out of the way or fight off attacks that would harm us. Once our stamina reaches 0, we start to take physical damage in the form of bruises, cuts, and sprains. At the end of a combat, all of our stamina is regained while body is harder to heal. A higher stamina gives us more life that is automatically replenished. If we know we can take those hits freely, we don't have to waste action economy defending ourselves. However, if something can cut past our stamina and hit our body directly, we're in trouble. A lower stamina can lead to more body hits, but there are some mechanics that are reliant on losing body points. This choice can be super strategic in build mastery. Or we can go with the balanced 30-30 option. Let's do that. Having finished our origin choices, this is our updated character sheet. Our next foundation is our archetype. Our archetype does a ton of heavy lifting when determining how our character functions in combat. Rather than a class based system which gives flavor and suggests core stats, archetypes ask what role do you want in combat and then gives us options to build in that direction. Champions deal damage and help their companions, while skirmishers are the mobile damage dealers. Guardians are the defensive fighters, while leaders are the defensive healers. Overseers can heal and provide support, while magicians are full support, changing the battlefield and affecting allies and enemies alike. We're going to go champion for our barbarian. When we select the champion archetype, we are given an outline to filter all of the game's a la carte options down to ones that fit our desired playstyle with some wiggle room. We start this process with our capacities, which we should take a moment to explain. During each round of combat, each player character receives 4 potential to act as their action economy. Every action they want to perform in combat requires them to spend 1 or more potential into a capacity. Making a strike with our sword would cost 1 martial, while moving a handful of squares would cost 1 agility. More powerful actions may cost multiple potential to perform. Our capacities determine how much of each type of action we can perform in a given round. A soldier with a martial capacity of 3 can spend more of their turn attacking, while a thief may only be able to attack once or twice, but can move much faster with an agility of 3. What we can do on any given round is a freeform mix of mechanics and improvisation, limited only by our 4 potential and what our character has greater capacity for. When we run out of potential, we have used up all of our time and energy that round. That is, unless we have momentum carrying us forward. Momentum is bonus action economy that can only be used for its specific type. While our 4 potential can be spent anywhere we have capacity remaining, a defense momentum can only be used on defensive actions. Like potential, we can only save momentum up to our capacity in a given category. That said, our character can collect a bunch of different momentum throughout combat and have an explosive turn near the end. Using up all 4 potential and up to 10 momentum, it is possible, if improbable, to have a single turn with the same action economy as 3.5 turns totaled together. Looking back at our character sheet, we are starting with a 1 in most of our capacities. The champion archetype has us increase both our martial and willpower capacities to build towards our combat role. Martial is selected as our core stat, which primarily determines which capacity gains momentum when certain mechanics happen on different turns and with different character abilities. And the main thing you need to know is if you're going to be getting free random momentum to do more things, your core stat's really going to be the thing that you get freebies for randomly throughout the game. We then get to choose 3 capacities to gain a +1 in. Each of these do have to be different. You can't stack all +1s in the same category. While making this choice, I do want to point out that our Arcana capacity is the only one that starts at 0. Magic is potent, but not available to everyone. Most people just don't have the capacity to perform magic. Those that do find themselves lacking in some other capacity. Characters that want to use magic should make sure that they either take an archetype that increases Arcana automatically, or they use one of these free points to increase Arcana. We, however, aren't going to do that for our Barbarian. We are going to increase our Martial again to take it up to its current maximum of 3, and then increase both Agility and Skill to 2 each. Our archetype then grants us some maneuvers. Maneuvers are like special character-specific actions that are more costly than generic actions, but also more powerful. The champion archetype grants us 1 martial maneuver, 1 willpower maneuver, and 1 maneuver of any type. Most archetypes follow this same pattern. They give us a maneuver for each capacity they required an increase in to build out our chosen combat role, and then a freebie for personal choice. We have chosen Loud and Proud, On the Run, and Battle Cry for our maneuvers. For a more extensive explanation of these options, check out the Get Barbaric video. Our archetype also grants us a physical fighting style and a physical defense style. I went with Cleaving and Calm Amid the Chaos. Once again, I talk extensively about these options in the other video. In place of that, I want to talk generically about combat styles. Heroic Potential uses combat styles to provide an overarching theme to our character that emphasizes how they use their equipment differently than another party member. We could have 2 heavily armored warriors using a sword and shield, but they could feel very different based on their combat styles. Whether using generic actions or our specific maneuvers, combat styles tint our attacks in a similar hue to make a character feel holistically distinct from another. Combat styles are split on two dichotomies: fighting versus defense and physical versus magical. Fighting styles primarily determine what special technique happens when we draw a face card for damage. Defense styles are a bit more varied as they interact with whether or not we want our stamina and body to take damage. Some provide additional options on how we defend ourselves, while others grant bonuses when we reduce incoming damage to zero or take damage to our body. The physical versus magical divide is determined by what gear is used. Physical styles require weapons and armor. Magical styles require an arcane implement without armor. Each archetype grants one fighting style and one defense style. The specific archetype options determine whether they are granting physical styles or magical styles. Finally, at the end of our archetype, we train two more skills. Focusing on combat, let's increase our brawn and then take a brawn skill action that guarantees our ability to shove enemies around the battlefield. Skill actions take one skill to use, and in this case, our skill capacity of 2 means the minimum distance of our shove is 2 squares. Our third foundation is our upbringing. This represents what kind of job we would have grown up around, whether it's what our parents did or if we were sent off to an apprenticeship or something like that. Let's choose the traveler category to represent our job as a huntsman. As always, our foundation grants us 2 skill trainings. Let's increase our wilderness to 1 for our outdoor skills and then pop our brawn up to 2 for all those deer and elk we had to carry home. After our skills, each upbringing gives us a pick 2 of 3 options. This is where we focus our generic traveler upbringing down to a huntsman's experience. We will choose to gain the tundra terrain for following the caribou. Finally, we'll gain a second language, increasing our trade speak up to a limited proficiency of 2. We're not fluent, but we can speak it well enough to barter meats and hides with others we find on our long treks. Our fourth foundation is our community. Our community is our home. The greater environment we grow up in has just as much of an impact on us as what we were raised doing. Following the stereotyped barbarian build, we will go with wilderness. That said, a Viking character could easily have a rural community, while one inspired by Attila the Hun could be urban or even metropolis. Our wilderness community grants us another terrain option. While we follow the caribou across the tundra, the home we come back to is in a boreal forest we know equally as well. We also get to increase our crafting trainings by 2 ranks. There are only a few crafts currently written for heroic potential, but one of them is the wardsmith craft. While a lockmaker might be a bit far-fetched, hunting traps are a perfect representation of our hunter upbringing while back home in our boreal forest community. To wrap up the community, we get another 2 skill trainings, as always. Let's just increase both our endurance and wilderness skills to 2. Getting a rank bonus up to 2 is an important mile marker for tests. While any character can have victory on a basic test, advanced tests require a 12 or higher for victory. While we aren't a one-trick pony, we do have some strengths by ensuring that multiple of our skills are able to have victory on an advanced test. Finally, the last major foundation is to pick our first pathway. Up until this point, most of our character creation has been a la carte options with guidance. Character pathways are where that free reign ends. Pathways package together abilities following a theme and lock them away. As a character adventures, they can unlock a pathway and slowly gain its abilities. Each character starts with 1 pathway unlocked and 3 career advancements to gain access to some, but not all of its features. With pathways like Weapon Master and Commander, there are certainly options to improve our combat capabilities. However, I want to explore more of the survivalist skills that are wrapped up into the stereotype of the barbarian. The first pathway I'm going to choose is the Outlander. The first career advancement I'm going to take is Terrain Mastery, which simply gives us another terrain. Let's go with Temperate Grasslands. We now have 3 terrains in which to use our wilderness skill with the knowledge that we can easily get more with this feature. I should have mentioned this sooner, but in Heroic Potential, a few of our skills can only easily be used with areas in which we have expertise. The knowledge skill can only be used with the lores we have, and the wilderness skill is limited to our terrains. The purpose behind this is to make all party members valuable when it comes to these eclectic skills. It doesn't matter if the party sage has a rank of 5 in knowledge if they know nothing about treasures and appraisal. The party thief, despite a lower score, has their upbringing foundation as an artisan matter. That is a bit of a tangent, but it's to compare the same situation with terrains. We can't have a high wilderness score and assume we can do everything. We may be great in the forest, but an ocean ecosystem is another beast entirely. Terrain specialties go from the one party ranger choosing a single terrain but just having a really high survival skill, to multiple terrains across multiple party members trading off jobs as they travel. That said, our Outlander pathway makes it really easy for our Barbarian to pick up new terrains as they adventure. This is especially important for our second career advancement, Expert Guide. One of the reasons for possessing a terrain is guiding our party on an adventure through the wilderness. Heroic Potential uses its journey mechanics to help structure overland travel into specific scenes that can be had along the voyage. Whether searching for lost ruins, circumventing an enemy army, or racing against the clock by going off road, cutting through the wilderness, the journey tests determine whether we get lost, what dangers occur, and what is found along the way. When a journey is set, the party determines their desired course. It could be a single segment going through a dark forest, or it could be multiple segments to go 1 through the woods, 2 up the mountains, and 3 into the caves to find the dwarven city. For each segment, the Game Master determines what threats and hazards are along the way and if there is anything of interest along the path. When the journey segment begins, the party decides on what roles their characters are taking. The possible roles are Guide, Watch, and Interest. A character can take on multiple roles at a penalty to each of them. The Guide role gets the party to their destination. Victory could be an uneventful route, while Progress will get us there after dealing with a hazard or two. The Watch role can be taken by multiple party members. Those on watch can use Notice or one of their lores to be on guard for threats to the party. A character with the Monster lore could watch out for signs of monster attacks, while someone with the Plant lore could do the same for more botanical threats. With the Game Master determining what threats will oppose the party ahead of time, a character who is on guard for the correct category can prevent a random encounter or change how it starts depending on whether they have victory or progress on the test. Finally, the interest role can be taken to discover new locations in the world, objects, or resources to be harvested. An herbalist may spend their time looking for remedy ingredients. A priest may notice a holy symbol eroded on a stone paver, hinting at the presence of a long lost temple. All of these things not the goal of the journey, but things found along the way. The structure of journey scenes allows for adventurers to quickly get from point A to point B while letting them affect how things play out along the way. We got on this extended explanation of journey scenes because of our expert guide feature granted by our Outlander pathway. After all of the upbringing and community talk about how skilled our character was in the wilderness, we are now capable of guiding our party through 3 different terrains and being on watch for threats at the same time without any penalty. My first RPG character was a ranger. In most systems I've played, wilderness exploration features decrease how much we interact with the exploration pillar of the game. Instead of a you get to, most TTRPG exploration features are a you don't have to worry about. The Outlander Pathway's exploration features slowly accumulate to allow the player to interact more with that pillar of play rather than less. Now that we've spent all this time explaining how wilderness exploration works in a character creation video, our final Outlander career advancement will be a quick combat option. Pathfinder allows allies to be unaffected by difficult terrain that we have moved through this round. This feature highlights the importance of turn order in combat and carries the theme of guiding our party members forward even into turn-based combat. Pulling on back to look at the whole, that is the bulk of character creation in the current rules of heroic potential. Our Barbarian is a champion coming from a wilderness traveler background beginning their career as an Outlander. Despite these broad statements, we have seen all the small choices made through those steps to flesh out our character. Along the way, we have discussed how Capacities, Potential, and Momentum works in Heroic Potential, and took a peek at some of the trainings and combat styles. We finished with a blitz on the journey rules. If this isn't enough for you, you can check out the companion video to this one where we explore the synergies of combat in our Get Barbaric submission. For now, thank you for watching, and thank you to our patrons at patreon.com/milestoneplay. I am a professional game master for games like Dungeons & Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Essence 20, whole bunch of stuff. So if you're looking for a one-shot or a campaign, you can find this month's offerings on our website, or you can drop into our Discord to join a game. Thanks once again, and have a lovely